The stories shared on It Takes Balls are unique to the individual sharing. Always speak with your trusted medical provider for treatment options specific to you. Welcome to a special bonus episode of It Takes Balls. Today I'm joined by kind of the reason that we're all here. Kim Jones is humble and doesn't like to be on camera or in the spotlight, but I'm making her do it today. Kim, thank you so much for finally deciding to be on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Stephen, for having me. And you are absolutely correct. I do not like to be in the spotlight, but I know how important it is for me to share my story.
Exactly. And like I said, you're the reason that we're all here. But the real reason is your son, Jordan. So let's talk about Jordan's story. Take us back to when he was first diagnosed, and then let's go through his journey.
So in 2007, Jordan was diagnosed with late-stage testicular cancer at the early age of 13, just 2 weeks shy of his 14th birthday. Tumors were already, spread throughout his abdominal area, his lungs, his neck. And 3 months into his treatment, we were told he was inoperable. We never took no for an answer. And after 7 successful surgeries, the one abdominal surgery was over 12 and a half hours long. They removed over 6 pounds of tumors wrapped around his kidneys, his aorta. He made a full recovery and he was back on the football field throughout his high school year.
So he had 7 surgeries?
7 surgeries. If you count, putting in the ports and everything. So 7 surgeries, yeah. Lung surgeries, debulking the tumors in his neck.
I mean, was testicular cancer ever something that you guys had been aware of before?
No, I knew that Lance Armstrong had it, but didn't know anything about it. Jordan had a sports physical 8 weeks prior to his diagnosis, in which he already had testicular cancer, but they never said anything. They never talked to us about it, that it was the most common cancer in men. We didn't have any information, and that was not okay.
Yeah. So you started TCAF in 2009 while Jordan was still with us.
Yes. So I walked away as a mortgage banker, knowing that I wanted to help make a difference in the fight against this disease. Jordan had said early on through his treatments that he did not want his friends to go through what he was going through. So I knew that I wanted to make a difference. And the first thing that I wanted to do was to produce an educational brochure that had how to self-exam and distribute them to pediatric offices and other medical offices and health departments.
So he was given the all clear, and then you started TCAF, and then he relapsed later. So tell us about the relapse.
So 7 years after Jordan was cancer-free, he relapsed. And it was worse the second time around. Over 100 tumors in his lungs. Most of his liver was diseased. Additional tumors in his abdominal area. And that it eventually spread to his brain. So unfortunately, after a year of fighting again, Jordan passed away June 8th of 2016.
So this episode's coming out June 8th. If you're listening to it on June 8th, it's the 8th anniversary. And I know 8 is important to you.
Yes, very important.
Do you care to explain the reasoning for 8?
Oh, gosh, it's so long. So Jordan was born on the 8th. He passed on the 8th. And my daughter and I were, trying to decide which day we wanted to hold his celebration of life, his memorial. And we decided to do July 8th. So the very next day, I found a donation, to the foundation in the amount of $888. And with that donation, this donor talked about the significance of 8s and just so impactful, so impactful. If you are listening to this podcast, we can, share that on the blog post if anyone wants to come back and read that.
Let's jump back to the 7 years between his initial given the all clear and his relapse. Was he checking himself regularly? Do you know? Was it still something that you knew could recur? What did that look like?
Yeah. So, he had his, I think, like every 3 month visits, labs, CTs. And then when we hit the 5 year mark, um, the doctors say, oh, you're good. And I know it was coming up on 6 years, and he had not gone in for a physical. So I was trying to, get him to go. I was asking my husband, can you please, ask Jordan to go get his physical, go get labs. And it wasn't until Jordan started to rapidly lose weight, um, and was sick to his stomach that he went in and had his labs drawn. And sorry.
It's okay.
And he called me a couple of hours later and said that the cancer was back.
Wow. I don't want
Sorry.
to, no, you're good. I don't want to push you while you're,
Uh, so that was completely unexpected because when you hit the 5 year mark, they say, oh, you're good. You don't have to do this as often. But that's not the case. We learned that you still need to make sure that you're going for your annual visits and just making sure that you're still healthy and the cancer's not returning.
so you started TCAF in 2009. He had been
Yeah.
cancer free. Was Jordan involved at all in kind of the growth of it for the first 7 years or first few years?
Yeah. So, I asked him if we could have his, picture on the front of the brochure, and he said, absolutely. And then, he would, come to our golf tournaments, but he was shy, he, like me, and didn't say a whole lot. But what I realized after he passed is that he did reach out to several people that were fighting testicular cancer and offering them hope.
That's
And I'm
amazing.
still getting messages of that today.
That's amazing. Yeah, talk about the impact that you get feedback regularly that I see. I'm on the Facebook account. So, I mean, I see the feedback that comes in. Talk about that feedback that you get of the impact that Jordan's had on how many lives.
Oh gosh. It's just incredible to see, that through one story, one story that can touch so many people, not just here in the US, but many other countries, that could have such a positive impact on them. It's just overwhelming. So
I mean, as a mom, I mean, that has to make you proud
very proud. Yeah.
despite the circumstances. I mean, of course, we wish Jordan
Yeah.
was still here, but yeah, I mean, he's having a major impact around the world, like you said, which we'll get into. So let's talk about now the history of TCAF. We know you started it in 2009. You mentioned the golf tournaments. Like what are some of the things that you have been able to accomplish over the last now 15 years? This year will be.
Oh my gosh. It's so crazy to even think I've been doing this for 15 years. So, some of the accomplishments, we've dispersed millions of educational materials across the country, as well as many other countries. We've held, 13 successful golf tournaments, 9 here in Western Colorado, one in Las Vegas, one in Mesquite, one in Dallas, and one in Phoenix. And thanks to you, you'll be hosting the 14th golf tournament in Norfolk, Virginia, April 18th of 2025.
That's right. I'm excited about it. Hopefully I host a better golf tournament than I can play in. Yeah, but I mean, the educational materials, that's a major part of it. And you mentioned you've distributed it all over the world. Now we're working on translating the materials into other languages to kind of increase Jordan's legacy and spread that. So, I mean, I know we just had one in Malaysia.
Yeah, so we were contacted by a TC survivor in Malaysia, Surendra, And he asked if he could, join forces with us to help promote testicular cancer in his country. So we absolutely, jumped on board and designed an educational brochure with his picture on the front cover. The first one is done in English, but we are now going to be working on the translation into Malay.
And then we're also working on German, and we've got Italian as well. And then we're going to try to get some more of the European languages coming soon. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing. And then some of the other programs we have, and you don't like to ask for money, so I'll ask for money. If people want to donate, I mean, we do financial assistance. So talk about like the impact that the financial assistance program has had.
This program has been so impactful for these patients and families. In such a way that it's just so heartwarming. Patients, a lot of the times, well, they're unable to work. So, we step in and help them with a mortgage payment or two or three. We've paid rent payments, automobile payments, gas and grocery gift cards. We've paid, co-pays that were just, they were unable to make those large co-pays. So yeah, it's just been incredible to see that we can make that difference for these families.
And if people want to donate, and I mean, they can earmark their donation for that and know that they're helping somebody directly who's fighting. So that's amazing. And then other programs we have, like the support programs. I mean, we have our Facebook group that a lot of people who listen are in. We have our conferences. Let's talk about the support group and the conferences.
So the support group is another amazing part of TCAF. So when Jordan was first diagnosed, there wasn't anything out there for us, for me as a mom, or for Jordan for any type of support. So Facebook has allowed us to have a private support group. So there's, newly diagnosed patients, survivors that are, 30 plus years out that are in this group, caregivers, moms, wives, siblings, best friends. And it's just a safe place for them to talk, to share about their experiences and, just support one another. And I believe there's over 3,700 members in that group today, and it just continues to grow.
Yeah, so that's amazing. So then, I mean, let's talk about the conferences too, because we've had in person before the pandemic, then we had virtual, and now we're back to in person. So how many conferences have there been?
There have been 9 conferences to date. So our 10th Testicular Cancer Conference is being held at UC San Diego Health, presented by Fennec Pharmaceuticals, and we're so grateful for their support. Super excited to be putting everything in place for this conference. It's going to be incredible. We're doing more social events because that has been the number one thing requested on our questionnaire is we want to spend more time with other survivors, with other caregivers, with the doctors, so that's what we're doing.
Yeah. And last year in Indiana, it was really cool to be able to, play golf with the guy who had his hands inside my stomach, not everybody gets to do that. So that's kind of, I guess it depends on what you're into, but, yeah, I mean, so the conferences are amazing. We always have amazing speakers at these things. I mean, that's another thing that I think sets TCAF apart from other organizations is that we have these relationships with these incredible doctors. So talk about like the relationships that you've been able to build with TCAF.
Oh my gosh. I'm so grateful for the medical community that have reached out to TCAF and myself over the years. Dr. Phil Prarzio was at Johns Hopkins at the time, and he emailed me. He said, how can I get involved with your organization? So he has been a board member now for 10 years. And we have, many other doctors, Khalid Al-Khatib, who's also a TC survivor. We have Dr. Joseph Shirk from the VA hospital in LA. That's the largest VA hospital in the country. Dr. Sean Kern, who is the head of the Testis program at Walter Reed, and also a new 1-year TC survivor, and Dr. Aditya Bagrodia from UC San Diego Health.
And these aren't just any doctors. I mean, these are like the leading doctors in testicular cancer. And there are more that aren't exactly on our board, but that we work closely with, like, the doctors at IU. Dr. Einhorn has always been very supportive of TCAF and was our honorary speaker last year. So, I mean, just to have these relationships, and we know that TC is relatively rare and there aren't so many experts. So to have these guys, kind of on our team is amazing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Dr. Einhorn has been our honorary keynote speaker for 4 of our conferences, I believe. And he would have been our honorary speaker for this one, but he was already committed to another conference. But he said that he would miss us. So just incredibly grateful for all of them. Dr. Clint Carey, Dr. Timothy Masterson, who's our honorary speaker for this year in San Diego.
Amazing. And then another thing, speaking of like partnerships with the doctors, also with like companies, I mean, you've been able to partner with a lot of companies to do a lot of good. Like you partnered with the movie Deadpool. We recently had a partnership with Vice Golf. I mean, there's countless other examples of that.
So Deadpool movie. So most everyone knows about Deadpool and Ryan Reynolds. So we partnered with 21st Century Fox Studios and Ryan Reynolds to include 3 million of our self-exam illustrations in their home theater DVD and Blu-ray. And that was seen by a lot of people. We were getting emails of, men saying that they, were detected early because of that self-exam insert. And with the promotion of the movie, it was seen by millions and millions of people because they used our self-exam when they were doing the trailer of the movie. So that was just an incredible collaboration with them.
Yeah. And then like the Vice Golf thing, I mean, they reached out to TCAF. I don't know exactly why, I can't speak for them, but I mean, we have a pretty good reputation. So they probably saw that and reached out to you. So things like that are incredible.
Yeah. So actually I got an Instagram message and they said that they loved our Instagram page and they wanted to do a promotion for April. And, their slogan was, "It takes balls to fight testicular cancer." So they branded the golf balls with our, Testicular Cancer Awareness Foundation logo. And their branding was, lose a ball, save a fellow golfer. Because if they lose a ball, someone finds the golf ball and it has our name on there. They're going to look at it and go, and hopefully get onto the internet and look up testicular cancer and the importance of monthly self-exams.
Yeah. I mean, it's so amazing the ways that we can make an impact. And I mean, if anybody out there listening has a company and there's a way to tie these things together, I mean, reach out, because who knows what kind of impact you can have.
Yeah, D's Nuts, like, the nut company. We've recently partnered with them. They're our sponsor for our podcast now. So yeah, these corporate and business collaborations are just great, and they're what is going to help us, grow and help make a difference in the fight against this disease.
Let's talk now about the academic education program, because that's another way to reach young men. And it's good for people to know where, if they donate, where their money's going to go. So let's talk about that.
Absolutely. So our academic education program, I wanted there to be something in the schools because there wasn't. And if breast cancer were happening in girls at 13 years old, there would be a program for that. So we provide resources for, teachers, coaches, doctors, nurses, anyone that wants to, provide this information. We have PowerPoint presentation. We have the materials that we can send them. It's just an incredible program.
Yeah. If people wanted to, volunteer and go to their local schools and give this presentation, is that something they could do?
We've done that in the past. They can do that, but we really like to go directly to the schools to disseminate our information.
Gotcha. Okay. What are some of the other programs that TCAF offers? I know we have the college ambassadors, which James Gray raised a bunch of money for, biking across the United States. That's going to kick off later this year.
So yes, we just recruited with our help of Oddballs in the UK, two students from UCLA and one student from Santa Barbara to launch this program in California. So come August, we will have 3 wrapped vehicles with the Oddballs logo and Testicular Cancer Awareness Foundation logo. And these college students will, give so many presentations a school year, and they will be provided with these branded vehicles, spreading awareness.
Yeah, and that's another place if people donate, their money can go, because the plan is, let's talk about the future now. The plan is to grow that program across the U.S.
Yes. So, oh my gosh, this is such a huge undertaking, but so important. So yes, we want to grow this Oddballs College Ambassador Program here in the U.S. and mirror what the Oddballs program is doing over in the UK.
So, I mean, of course, we would love to have donations and everything, but the important thing is awareness. So what can people do to get out and raise awareness? Because like I said, that is the mission.
So there's, local health fairs that, communities host. So, they can reach out to us, they can get our materials and be a part of that health fair. Or, like you had mentioned, they could go to their schools, they can drop off education materials at schools, health departments, their local physician's office or in pediatric offices.
Yeah. I don't remember if my doctor's office had it before I got diagnosed. My doctor's office is small, my primary doctor, but when I recently went for a follow-up, she did have on her sheet things to regularly check for, and testicular cancer was one. I'm going to take credit for it, but I don't think it was me. I think it was probably there before.
Take the credit, Stephen. Take the credit.
So yeah, I mean, let's talk about the future of TCAF. We have the conference coming up in September. You mentioned the golf outing in April. So if anybody's listening in the Hampton Roads region or, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, or, if you want to fly in, that's great too. Dr. Gamblin is doing something amazing. If you want to talk about that.
Yep. So Dr. Gamblin reached out to me a few months ago with this goal of his to run this marathon. And Dr. Gamblin is also a TC survivor. So this marathon is 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days. And people think, how is that even possible? Well, it is possible because it has been done. And this is exactly what he wants to do. He's a runner. And so we're backing him 100%. And with this marathon, his goal is to raise $250 for TCAF.
Amazing. Which
will be so incredible and make such a huge impact in the fight against this disease.
Yeah, I mean, talk about that impact, because we want to do an international conference one day. So, I mean, I saw you were commenting with somebody who wants to do one in Canada. There's been talk about Europe. So, I mean, what's that look like?
Yeah, I mean, all these things that we want to do, it takes funding. And if we don't have, contributions, coming in or, corporate partners, we're unable to, expand our reach.
Yeah, and you don't have to be Dr. Gamblin and run 7 marathons in 7 continents in 7 days. We have next week's episode is with Mike Sanders. You'll hear that when that comes out. But he ran 100 miles, which is, I told him, more than I like to drive. So, I mean, you could run a 5K, whatever you want to do to get involved. We've partnered with fraternities and sororities. I mean, there's all kinds of opportunities for involvement.
Yeah, we had a survivor, his 2-year cancerversary. He ran the Boston Marathon. So signing up for races or doing a race on your own and, just setting up fundraisers and letting people know that you're supporting Testicular Cancer Awareness Foundation. I mean, there's just so many, easy ways to get involved.
Yeah, and I was talking to Brian Vassal earlier, who we know and love at TCAF, and he mentioned he would like to try to maybe do a softball tournament one day. So, whatever it is that you like to do, there's probably a way to make it for a good cause. So, reach out to us and we'll help you set it up.
I'm incredibly grateful for those who want to help support TCAF and host events, like Brian wanting to possibly do a softball tournament. These runners who just get out there and, run a 100-mile marathon, or 50-mile marathon, or even, the half marathon, or even a mile a day. What we had Brooke and Kylie do in support of, Dr. Gamblin's marathon challenge. So,
yeah. I mean, there's so many ways to get involved, and we have all this information on how to get involved on our website, which is
testiscancer.org or Testicular Cancer Awareness Foundation.org.
Amazing.
Or you could also go to testicularcancercharity.org.
I think we own a lot of domains, so
we do.
You'll find us eventually. But yeah, just look for TCAF, Testicular Cancer Awareness Foundation. That's important.
Yep. I would just like to say that I know that Jordan would still be here today if we had known about this disease, as well as many other men across the country and other countries. So I would like to end with this. It is important to know that we are braver than we think and stronger than we believe.
For more information and resources for your testicular cancer journey, visit testicularcancerawarenessfoundation.org. You can also follow us on social media at Testis Cancer. We're on Facebook at Testicular Cancer Awareness Foundation.